Last night, a man says that he tunes into this, but he's wondering if you can turn the volume up because he can't hear it.
I'm doing the best I could. My voice is a low voice. That's all I can tell you. The volume is up.
Okay.
I've got the volume up pretty much. Okay. Shai, do you want to give a 2-minute synopsis from yesterday? I know that you have notes. It doesn't have to be everything.
No, I didn't. I meant to transcribe the notes, but I can tell you what I remember.
Yeah.
We're talking. One of the things that I found so moving yesterday is that you mentioned that there are people who talk about a person having a damaged soul. That someone who went through difficult experiences in their life, could be when they were very young, so they had traumas at some point from people they were close to or from others, and they went through such a difficult life that they might think of themselves as being damaged. And there are also therapists that until recently would relate to people as damaged goods. And you mentioned that in Chassidut, including the Lubavitcher Rebbe, that thinks differently, and that there is something within the soul that's the innermost soul, which cannot be damaged, which is so precious and so inner that is still connected to Hashem and is still beautiful, and that because we have that beautiful inner soul, then we can look at someone else differently. They may have other problems on the outside, but these are more superficial than we might think, and that deep inside there's still that beautiful, pure soul that each person has.
Very good.
And I asked the question whether that's true for non-Jews as well, and he said he didn't know.
Okay. Okay, so we're on page Reish Pechet, and this is a sikha from the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Okay, and at the bottom of Reish Pechet, where it says Haderech v'chizuk, the way to. How's your Hebrew? So then just listen, okay? Haderech v'chizuk is Hadgashat Malato Ha'amitit Shel Yehudi. The way to strengthen somebody is by emphasizing the true uniqueness or specialness of what it is to be a Jew. ומזה למדים הוראה בנוגע להאופן שבו נעשה חיזוק לבני ישראל חזק במצרים. So this teaches us a lesson about how to strengthen even in a state of Egypt, a state of exile, Zman HaGalut, while we're in exile. And I think we read this paragraph yesterday, but that's okay. Kol HaMalchiyot, all the kingdoms, all the exiles, Nikru al Shem Mitzrayim, they're all called by the name Mitzrayim. Ad legalut zeh ha'acharon, including this last exile that we're in right now, shemitzat koshi v'arichut ha'galut shelo be'erech l'sha'ar ha'galuyot, and this last exile that we're in is the longest exile, and it's almost 2,000 years, right? So it's, in a certain sense, it dwarfs the previous ones, both in length of time and in terms of hardship. So there's a need for extra intense strengthening of the Jewish people. The strengthening comes from proclaiming that Yaakov lived in Egypt. In other words, the end of Yaakov's life, his last 17 years of life, were in Egypt, right? And the parsha is called Vayechi, he lived. In other words, the idea being that a Jew can live, can be alive, even in exile. Yaakov Avinu lo made, and the Talmud tells us that Yaakov Avinu didn't really die. I mean, he died, but he didn't die. In other words, he's not mazaro b'chayim, afu b'chayim. Just like his children are alive, he's alive through us. Klomar, top of Reish Peites. הדגשת מעלתו האמיתית של כל אחד ואחד מישראל, the emphasis of the true special quality of every single Jewish person, Zaro shel Yaakov, the descendant of Yaakov. The true emphasis is Mitzad Mitziyuto shel Yisrael. What makes you special is that you are a Yisrael, you are a Jew. Shelachen, and therefore, Mibli habeit al mamado matzavo begalui, without looking at the person's status at any particular time, or revealed status, yachol v'tzarich legalot et malato ha'amitit. In other words, don't look at the person
don't look at the one.
Don't look at the person and say, "Oh, you're so far from Yiddishkeit, from Judaism, and we're going to have to put you through like a 7-year workshop." But rather, the emphasis is to reveal his unique quality that he possesses right now, and teach them that al yedei zeh sheyashuv b'tshuva v'yikayim haTorah v'mitzvoteha b'maaseh v'foral. Get this person, help this person, encourage this person to start doing mitzvot, to do tshuva. שעל ידי זה מחזקים ומעודדים את רוחו לבוא למעמד ומצב של חיים. By doing that, you are strengthening and encouraging his spirit to get to a point where he connects with his true reality, a true living Jew, גם בפועל ובגלוי, in actual practice and in a revealed way. לעומת זאת, in distinction to this, כשמדגישים ומבליטים את החיסכון של אלה מבני ישראל, שלעת עתה אינם מקיימים תורה ומצוות, but if you size and you bring to the surface, like in other words, you look at what's lacking in a Jew who at the moment isn't fulfilling Torah and mitzvahs. In other words, you see him, you see this person, you see her, you say, oh, this person is not a religious person. This person doesn't do this. This person is doing something that shouldn't be done. Right? If you're bringing that to the surface, if that's what you're looking at, if that's what you're emphasizing, ולא עוד אלא שמוסיפים בפחדות, באיומים, בעונשים קשים, and not only that, but you're also going and you're telling the people, you're trying to scare them into keeping Torah and mitzvahs, and you're threatening them with what's in heaven or and in this world. Rahmana litzlan. I don't know what the Hey Yud Lamed Tav stands for right now. Heaven forvent. So לא זו בלבד שלא זו הדרך לפעול בהם ובכלל חיזוק בענייני היהדות. Not only is this not the way to achieve any strengthening, this is not the way to help them strengthen their observance of Torah and mitzvot, אלא אדרבה, on the contrary, על ידי זה מחלישים את רוחם, by emphasizing the negative, or by trying to make them afraid of what awaits them in heaven and so on, you're actually weakening their spirit. And even more than that, marchikim otam mitshuva, you're distancing them from doing tshuva. Torah or mitzvoteha, you're distancing them from keeping Torah and mitzvahs. Kenireh b'muchash, as we see in actual reality. ובפרט בדורנו זה, and especially in our generation now, שהדרך היחידה לקרב ליבם של בני ישראל לאביהם שבשמיים, the only way to bring the hearts of Jewish people closer to their Father in heaven, היא ההוכחה בדרכי נועם בדרכי שלום, is by speaking pleasantly and peacefully, mitoch ahavat Yisrael, and whatever you say should be words that are motivated by your love of Israel, dafke, yochichan Moshe she'ohavan. Like it says, this is a medrash, that let the reproof be given by Moshe who loves them. ובהדגשה יתרה, and with even more emphasis, בנוגע לדורנו זה, particularly in our generation that we're living in now, שאלה שלעת עתה אינם מקיימים תורה ומצוות, that the Jews who are at the moment not fulfilling Torah and mitzvot, הם תינוקות שנשבו. These are people that are in the category of children that were raised in captivity, right? Like we spoke about this yesterday, right? That's for example, during the Holocaust, there were people who tried to save their children by giving them over to Gentile families. But this is not true only for such children. Generally, this whole generation is in the category of Tinokot Shenishbu. Like, we're so imbued with the foreign cultures that we live in that it's not a given that a Jew understands that we have a Torah and that we have to learn Torah and that we have to do mitzvot. It's not a given. Most Jews don't go over to most Jews and say, you have to learn Torah. They're going to say, who said? You have to do mitzvot. Who said? Right? It's not a given. You were raised that way, You got your education. You know that you know a bit more. But it's the generation as a whole. No, hold on. The generation as a whole. So the generation as a whole is a generation of people that it's as if they were raised in captivity. Like they don't, like I remember years ago there was this amazing statistic that most children, by the time they come to grade 1, they've already watched a few thousand hours of television. The kid comes to, first of all, the vast majority of Jewish kids don't even go to Jewish school. And of those that do get some Jewish education, they're getting a minimal education. By the time they come into grade 1 or whatever it is, right? They've already watched thousands of hours, Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers, this and that and the other, and all kinds of things that move your thing left and share. Yeah. They've seen during the last paragraph on this page, then I'll give you soon the next page. They've been inundated, right? Like the Israeli press speaks about religious brainwashing. Truth of the matter is that by the time a kid comes to grade 1, the kid's already been brainwashed by the ambient culture and whatever is being shown on television, right? And so this generation is a generation of Jewish people that have been raised in captivity. Captivity doesn't mean that somebody's standing there with a gun. There's a worse captivity is that somebody's standing there with a television.
That's something even worse that people don't even know.
And they don't even realize it. Right. They don't even realize it, right? So the dinam mefurash b'psek din Harambam, and the law for these concerning such Jews is, the Rambam says, Shebnei hatoim ha'ele, these children who are living in a mistake, V'nei b'neihem, and their children's children, Shehidichu otam avotam, that their parents have sort of pushed them away from Yiddishkeit. V'noldu bein hakaraim, and they were raised among the Karaites. V'gadlu otam al datam, and they were raised in this. You've heard of the Karaites, yes? And they were raised with these false ideologies. Harehu kitinok shenishba b'neihem. Such a person is like a child that was raised in captivity and doesn't know better. V'gadluhu, and they raised him thinking in such a way. If you want it, I don't know if you want it. Ve'eino zaris le'achos b'darkei ha'mitzvot, and such a person is not. Everybody has a page, yeah. Ve'eino zaris, such a person is not.
Motivated?
Not very good. Not motivated to take on a life of keeping mitzvot. Sharehu kanus, because he's basically, it's as if this other lifestyle of his has been forced on him, right? And even if he heard afterwards, Shehu Yehudi, he found out that he's a Jew. And he's seen Jews and their religion. He's still innocent.
Forced.
Huh?
Still forced.
He's still been forced in his lifestyle. Because they raised him with their mistake. Therefore, this is all from the Rambam. Therefore, it's the appropriate thing is to bring them back to return to their roots, and to draw them with peaceful words, until they come back to the strength of the Torah. Barbara, what did you want to say?
I wanted to say that, like in some places like before the war in Europe, let's say, the way they learned Yiddishkeit was very, very harsh, with a lot of, rebukes and punishments and very. So, and that's why a lot of people stopped observing, because to them it wasn't joyful and beautiful like Shlomo made it.
Yeah,
it wasn't loving, it was almost hateful.
Yeah, that's in the lessons before you came today. We've discussed that.
No, but that's what I wanted to say. When you say they're captive by television, they also felt captive by that type of.
I'm saying that we've gone through that.
But what I remember from Shlomo was even when people said to Shlomo, should I do this or should I do that? He would say, whatever you do is the best. So he got it out of you.
No, but if somebody said, is it true that I'm not allowed to work on Shabbos? He would say, yes, we don't work on Shabbos.
Right. But
he wouldn't say whatever you do.
No, but he also said, like, whatever you make money on Shabbos, you wouldn't need it. If you, like,
right.
That he would make it so that you weren't losing something.
Absolutely. He would make it beautiful. Okay. Okay, so angel clean, so you have to understand that and I've mentioned also there's a famous sefer from the p.14. The p.14 Rebbe was the Eish is known as the Eish Kodesh because he left a manuscript of his teachings. He lived in the wars. He was in the wars together for about 3 years, and then they under the Nazis, and he managed somehow to keep on teaching Torah even while he was there and giving people chizuk and so on. It's been translated into English. It's called Holy Fire. Do you have it?
What's it called?
Holy Fire. And but in the 1920s, he wrote a sefer called Chovat HaTalmidim, and which has also been translated by Micha Odenheimer. And
what is it called?
It's called The Student's Obligation.
Oh, yeah.
And in his introduction there, he explains why is he writing this book. It's basically a guidebook for yeshiva students. And he explains that the reason he's writing the book is because a lot of kids were leaving the yeshivas in those days. And one of the, this is the early 20s. We had a yeshiva, the PSS, and the reason that they were leaving, a lot of them were leaving the yeshivas, is because the Bund, which was a Jewish socialist organization, political and so on, they opened up a bunch of schools, and they were offering theater, they were offering, and they were telling kids that, we don't force you to do anything, and you don't have to keep the mitzvahs, and so on and so on, and basically they undermined the whole authority of the rabbis. They said you don't have to listen to them and so on. So the students were no longer looking up to their teachers as their guides. So he said, okay, given that this is the situation, he said, you still are a Jew, and you still have to serve Hashem. And since you're no longer listening to your teachers, then let me tell you what you need to know about yourself, what you need to know for your own personal development. Right? And the whole book is about, there's one major chapter there that he calls it the ills of the soul. He deals with the importance of doing things with joy. It deals with the importance of knowing to watch out for laziness, the importance of how to deal with bad habits, etc. Did you ever look at that sefer? Definitely should read it. And in his introduction there and throughout the sefer, he keeps on encouraging the students and saying, know who you are. The Talmud says, if you're not royalty yourself, you're descendants of royalty. If you're not prophets yourself, you are descendants of prophets. In other words, you are special. And this is what the Rebbe is saying over here, and this is what Shlomo did all the time, is giving people a sense of you are special. Okay? Now, that we've already learned in the Talmud, in the Mishnah, it says, right, that every person is obligated to say that the world was created for my sake. Right? Remember, it's a Mishnah in Sanhedrin. And the Mishnah, you were here for that Mishnah? The Mishnah is basically is part of a speech that the judges would give to a witness who was testifying in a case of capital punishment. In other words, they were going to give testimony against someone. If found guilty, this person would be executed, right? So the rabbis needed to make sure that the witness really understands the value of a human life. Okay? And if the witness is not a person who values human life, his testimony is questionable. You know, you need to know that the person who's giving such testimony is serious about life, that he values life. You know? So in that speech that they give to the witness, they talk about why was Adam created as a single individual, right? When God created trees, all of a sudden there were forests and forests of trees. When God created any other species, there were entire, schools of fish and herds of cattle and birds, etc., right? But when man was created, the original person was one individual. So the Mishnah says, first of all, one reason is so that you should know that to avoid anybody saying, "Oh, my lineage is better than your lineage," right? Okay. And furthermore, for a person to understand that the entire creation is worth the existence of one person. In other words, that a person has to say, the world was created for my sake. In other words, the entire creation is worthy just for me to be here. Now, of course, that means you have to say that, and 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 I have to say that, which means I have to understand this, not only for my sake, but my being here is very significant. I'm not just another cookie from a cookie cutter, right? You're a unique individual who in the eyes of God, it was worthy for him to create the universe just for you to be here. And for you, and for you, and for you, okay? Now, in a lesson that we learned that Reb Shlomo was giving concerning Yom Kippur, right? He speaks over there about the creation of man. And he says that when Hashem said, Naaseh Adam b'tzelmenu, you remember this? When God said, let us make man in our image, one interpretation of that is that Hashem invited the entire creation to contribute something to the creation of man. And that's why the human being is actually a microcosm of everything physical and everything spiritual.
Can you say that again, that last part?
Yeah, I do.
The last two
That
lines.
God, it says in the Torah, God said, let us make man.
Mm-hmm.
So to whom was he talking?
To the angels.
Well, one interpretation is that he invited all of creation to contribute, not only the angels. That's why in your body, physically, you have minerals and you have like just about everything. You have water, you have blood, you have, in other words, the human being is a complete microcosm. Okay?
Other pieces of
Right. In other words, everything in the universe contributed something. No? You okay?
You've been a high cement.
Okay. The haste enemy. Yeah. And you and the angels contributed. But among the contributions of the angels, there were two angels, the Talmud tells us, that said, Ma enosh ki tizkerenu. It's a verse from Psalm 8. Two angels said, what's man that you should create man? And so Reb Shlomo explains, first of all, what is the idea of an angel? So this is one way of explaining what an angel is, just to help you understand, is that it's an energy, okay? A spiritual energy. And so these angels who said, what is man that you should even consider, creating man, what they contributed was negativity. Right? We all have some of that, right? You're sitting in your car at a red light, and the light turns green, and the guy in front of you still didn't start moving yet, and you blast your horn, get out of my way, right? Or who needs you, right? My life would be better without you.
Well, just without you in front of me, that's all.
That's that example.
Sometimes without you in general.
Sometimes without you in general, right? Okay? Who needs you? That negativity is, you have that negativity, and even the worst of it is when a person starts thinking, who needs me? Right? That negativity was contributed by those angels. That was their contribution to our being.
So, seems to be like doubt so much. It's negative.
Doubts, there's a molek, okay?
So you're saying that all these forces came together to create man.
That's
One
right.
of them was angels, and what the angels
And
contributed
among
to
the
us.
angels, no, not all the angels. Among the angels, there were two angels, Uzzah and Azael, that contributed negativity.
So it's not the Yetzer Hara?
This is worse than the Yetzer Hara.
Uzzah and
Azael. This is worse than the Yetzer Hara.
Why?
Yetzer Hara is yeah, I want to taste an all-dressed pizza. Okay, that's a Yetzer Hara type of thing.
What?
An all-dressed pizza, cheese and
Ah,
okay.
okay.
You know what I mean? No, not kosher.
Yeah, I don't
okay?
know.
Cheese and pepperoni.
Pepperoni.
Right.
So I didn't even know. Okay, I knew once, but okay.
Right.
I'm glad to help you out.
Right.
Anyway, or I want to do this. This looks like a lot of fun, and I know that it's not allowed, right?
Right.
That's a Yetzer Hara. Like, come on.
Okay.
Come, go have a good time,
Okay.
But how can God create
Negativity, because we need to have free choice.
What?
Because we have to have free choice. Negativity is like already being negative about life.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This guy is in front of you in the car, right? Get out of my way. Who needs you? It's like, here's a being that God created, and you're saying, I don't need you. That's for sure. Right? That's worse than me eating something on Yom Kippur.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
I thought angels were supposed to be good forces.
There are like this and there are like that. Okay? They're in any case, so, and those angels obviously were very powerful because a lot of us walk around with a lot of negativity, right? We walk around with a lot of negativity. So, what the Rebbe is saying over here is like this, that you want a Jewish soul is special. which, like I told you yesterday, this is already answering your question. Okay? A Jewish soul is unique. Okay? But what's the true uniqueness of a Jewish soul? The true uniqueness of a Jewish soul is Torah and mitzvahs. Okay? But the exile that we're living in is so intense, that a lot of Jews don't even understand the meaning of the word mitzvah. Like, for example, when I was teaching in a conservative school back in Montreal, at the Salem Meshechter, I was teaching a grade 7 class. And I used the word commandment for mitzvahs. Commandments. And I didn't emphasize it. I wanted to see what's going to happen. Like I was teaching about a certain topic. And about 15 minutes later, this girl picks up her hand and she says, "Excuse me, did you say commandment?" I said, "Yes." So she says, "That's funny." I said, "Why?" She says, "Because we've always been told that a mitzvah is a good deed. A good deed." So I said, "That's true. A mitzvah is a good deed." So she says, "Yeah, but commandment is different." I said, "How is it different?" Commandment means that you're commanded to do it.
And a good deed is optional.
And a good deed is optional, right? So she got it. And she, by the way, she became she's a Shomer Shabbos girl now. She lives in Israel and everything, right? But this is in a Jewish school, right? And to begin with, and in fact, one of the leading educators in the Solomon Schechter school system eventually wrote a paper saying that this was a mistake on their part. That it was a mistake on the part of the movement to talk about mitzvahs as being simply good deeds. Because a Jew has to know that what is the meaning of the word mitzvah. Now there's the superficial meaning of the word, which means plain and simple, commandment. I need to know that as a Jew, Hashem gave me mitzvot. Hashem gave me commandments. That's what I need to do as a Jewish person.
So why do we have commandments and mitzvot? The 10 Commandments.
No, the word mitzvot is a Hebrew word. The translation of the word mitzvah is commandment. All 613 mitzvot or 613 commandments. When they say the commandments, I'm not responsible for what the world outside there. When we say Aseret HaDibrot literally translates as the 10 sayings that God said to us. Okay. That's the literal translation. But the world called it the 10 Commandments. In fact, in the Aseret HaDibrot, there are actually 14 mitzvot. Okay?
Can I say something?
Hold on, let me just finish the thought. Okay, now on a deeper level, the root of the word is sav, sadik vav. Okay? Now, the mitzvah is that which connects the mitzaveh, the commander, with the mitzuveh, the commandee. Now, the word sav, the generic sav, those two letters give us the word sevet, which means a team. It gives us the word svat, which means pliers, which is an instrument for squeezing things together, right? In other words, the idea of a mitzvah is something which connects. How does a human being who is finite, how can a human being connect with Hashem who is infinite? Right? The distance between one and infinity is infinity. The distance between a million and infinity is infinity. The distance between a billion and infinity is infinity. So how can a finite being, I don't care if you're a millionaire, billionaire, whatever it is you are, you're still a finite being. How can a finite being connect with the infinite one? And the answer is because the infinite one has extended these bridges to us, and these bridges are these connectors, and these are the mitzvot. So by doing the mitzvah, you're connecting with Hashem. Okay? That's the true uniqueness of the Jewish soul, is that Hashem gave us the Torah and the mitzvot. What about the other nations? Well, when Mashiach is going to come, they're also going to say Hashem Echad. Okay? Hashem Echad u'Shmo Echad. Right? But in the meantime, everybody has 7 mitzvot. The seven mitzvot b'nei Noach. The uniqueness of the Jewish neshama is that we have Torah, we have access, we have a way of living with Hashem that's special. Okay? And that's what a Yid needs to know. But if you were raised as a tzinik shenishba ben a goyim, you don't even know what that means. Like a Jew came up to me in the Bay Area one day, and he says, "Why don't you just give the Arabs whatever they want?"
Because they want everything.
Okay, and he has no concept of Eretz Yisrael. He thinks that he's maybe he goes to shul 3 times a year, maybe he goes to a Pesach Seder, whatever it is, and that's just fine. In other words, and he's a tzinik shenishba. The truth is, he's a child raised in captivity, right? But not under a gun, but rather under Fifth Avenue.
He doesn't know it.
And he doesn't know it. He thinks this is just fine. There's no need to think of anything else, right? Or even here, what Shlomo says once, he was at the King David or one of his hotels, and this woman says to him, "Don't really need Mashiach. We have a beautiful hotel. There's a spa. We have our country. Don't need Mashiach." Right? And even among the religious Jews, like when the Rebbe was making his campaign about Mashiach now, we want Mashiach. A big part of the religious world was like, what for? What are you talking about? Right? And most of us, including myself, have a hard time imagining what it's even going to be like when Mashiach comes. A lot of people think, oh, it's going to be boring because we're going to be learning Torah and doing mitzvahs and so on, right? And what else are we going to do, right? People have a very limited concept of what it means to be closer and closer and closer to Hashem.
Do we really know what Mashiach is going to
Well, we don't really know in details.
Unknown, so it's scary.
Yeah, I wasn't being judgmental.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't being judgmental. And that's why, Chabad has put out a couple of books already on, what it's going to be like based on the Rambam and so on. But I imagine and I hope that you've had at least some moments of whether it was during the Shabbos or whether it was during the learning where a moment of real deep enlightenment, right? And you say, oh wow, that's so special, right? Well, imagine that everything you're going to be seeing is going to be radiating with Hashem's light, right? That's going to be special.
Make that happen now.
That's right. The Rebbe wanted us to live already as if Mashiach is, to live like Mashiach is already here.
So looking at everything and being able to see God in it.
Yeah, and every one of your brothers and sisters and so on. But See, what the p.14 says in his introduction there, what is the meaning of chinuch, education? There's education and there's training. Training means I can take a horse, or I can take a kid in school, and I can train them to do certain things. That's not education. Okay? Education is to facilitate each person to be the best that they can be and to manifest their talents and all the beautiful things that they're capable of doing. That's education. Okay? So if you take me, if I would have been a student in your school, and if you would decide that I'm going to make Sholem into this and this and this, right? Chop him up a little bit here, cut off a wing, etc., right? Did you do me a favor? Maybe I'm going to end up with a great job, and I'm going to have a BMW and a WMB, and so on, right? And one goes forwards, one goes in reverse, and you didn't do me any favors because you didn't allow me to be me. And in Hashem's eyes, Hashem wants me to be me, but the real me, okay, the real me. So every Jew naturally wants to do mitzvahs, or to put it in different words, the nature of a Jewish neshama is to want to be really close with God. The nature of a Jewish neshama is to really want to be in love with the entire creation and to bring about godliness into the world, right? And the biggest favor that you can do for someone is to help them be in touch with that true essence of their being.
That's what education is.
That's right. Okay.
See, but you don't always know what the true essence is. That's a very
I
big
know
thing.
the true essence of what it means to be a Jew because we've got all these holy teachers and the Torah that tells us what the true essence of a Jew is. But you're unique, and he's unique, and he's unique. But it's so in other words, maybe your mitzvah, the one that you're going to shine in most, is a particular mitzvah, and the mitzvah that Jordana is going to shine in most is a different mitzvah. Okay, and you're going to bring new revelations of godliness into the world that are going to be different from the revelations that she's going to bring into the world. Okay. But we all received the Torah, we all received the mitzvot, and we all have the same core things. Okay?
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So before you said that we should be seeing God everywhere in the world, right? Like as if God's essence is radiating from everything. And I find that in the religious world, sometimes people don't want to talk about certain things because they think that's not godly. And I see a lot of these things as very godly and as Torah. Like I was having a conversation with a Haredi the other day, and which is weird already because I'm a woman and whatever. But he was saying like we need to learn Torah, and so we can't go to university. And I was like, is that not Torah? Is learning science not Torah? Is learning biology not Torah? Like that's Torah to me, Or like technology, television, like Google, like I think I see like the godliness in that. Sexuality, that's very godly.
Right.
Whereas like in Toronto, they're taking out parts, like they don't teach like a certain body parts at school or about sex at school because they think that's like not appropriate to be teaching at school. And for me personally, I'm like, I don't understand that because I see God in those things. So, like, why?
Right. So first of all, yeah.
She's right.
So first of all, you should know that. So first of all, you are obviously very unique. Very special that you can be saying these things. Okay. The world around us doesn't see sex as godly. True. but because they don't, they see it just as a purely animalistic drive for reproduction and gratification. So it's a higher level of thinking and living that you can see godliness in that. And in fact, that is exactly where you're supposed to see godliness most of all. Okay, there's no question about that. As far as the attitudes or the opinions as to which subjects are appropriate to be learned at what age, etc., that you have different opinions.
Right.
Okay. Now, as far as studying biology and so on and these things, here again, there's no question that being involved with the world and with the sciences and so on is very important. Okay, and the Rambam was a doctor, and the Ramban was a doctor, etc., etc. There's no question about that, and these things should be studied, etc. Question is there a decent environment in which to learn these things? So, for example, today you can go to, let's say, Yeshiva University, or you can go to Bar Ilan, and so on. Not so long ago, most universities were were environments in which science and religion were two worlds apart.
You can mix them.
I understand, but you also get influenced by the environment that you're in. Everybody gets influenced by the environment that they're in. Okay, so going into the sciences, let's say 50 years ago, meant you were going into a den of people that absolutely found that religion is nonsense.
Right.
Understand? So going into that kind of an environment is not so simple for an 18-year-old kid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, to be in a classroom and to be with people every day that are going to look down at you for what you're doing. Right? When I was in university, there were 2 or 3 kids in the class that, and I was in commerce that had a yarmulke. Right? The rest of the Jewish kids, like many, I would say most of them, like sort of like really look down at us, like, you guys are crazy. You mean you don't go skiing on Shabbos? What's wrong with you, right? And we're still living in that kind of mentality, like so that's the idea. That's Tinuk Shanishba. The child has been raised in captivity of the culture around us, etc. So what we'll just summarize with this is he's saying is that the way, like, we have an obligation to reach out and to help Jews connect with their real essence. But it has to be done in a pleasant way, and it has to be done with love. Okay. This is the important thing to know. So when you see a fellow Jew, and Reb Shlomo once said, if you're walking in Manhattan and you see this Jewish boy sitting in his car on Friday night at a red light, and there's a good-looking girl walking across the street, and he's honking his horn. What do you see? Do you see him trying to get the attention of this girl, or do you see him screaming out, "God, show me the truth and get me out of this nonsense of this lifestyle"? Okay, so what do you see that undamaged pure soul that every one of us has, or do you see, oh, you did this, oh, you're doing that, oh, yeah, and so on and so on? So if you really care about this person, and you want this person to have the blessings and the enrichment of really getting to be themselves on the highest level, do it in a way which is Darkei Noam, and do it with a habit. Okay, let's go now. You, quotes of